Welcome back. We're with Isaac, who is an insurance agent for Aflac. Isaac, how are you?
I'm doing great, Easton. Thank you. How about yourself?
I'm doing well, man. It's good to be here. Nice weather outside, so I'm loving it. So you became an insurance agent with Aflac about 6 years ago. What started you down this journey?
Yeah, so like every little boy, I grew up couldn't wait to sell insurance. No, it was I was studying marketing at BG, was just kind of looking for an internship. Knew I wanted to get out there and just kind of get my feet wet. My college career was a little non-traditional, we'll call it. So I was kind of lacking in the intern, the real hands-on experience department, and I just happened to walk by the Aflac booth, and he was looking for someone that wanted to try to work for themselves and kind of start somewhere. And one interview led to the next interview. I said, let's give it a go. And part of what intrigued me is, it's like we're not employees of Aflac. I'm an independent agent. I can really kind of grow my thing, and I can just choose to represent a great company like Aflac. But having that independence really made it feel like this is an opportunity where I could kind of get started in a field, that people have been successful at, and I can help people along the way. And like I said, using Aflac as that main vessel kind of just felt like a good way to grow that business, and who knows where it'll go from there.
Yeah, and you have a real focus on helping businesses and mainly their employees. When you're working with the employees of those businesses, how do you make sure they know that you actually care about them?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question, because just by the nature of it, to a lot of companies, I'm a vendor, I'm a sales guy, I'm the insurance ones here, and nobody wants to go talk to me. I'm the leper in the cafeteria, right? And part of kind of handling that hurdle, I mean, that relationship really starts with the top, whether whoever that real decision maker is, whether that's an HR director or like you mentioned, for local businesses, usually that's the business owner that kind of wears all those hats. And that relationship starts there, and I want them to know me, and I'm going to do my best to be authentic and let them know that, I'm not just some guy in a shirt and tie. I'm not going to come in and try to twist arms. I'm not a used car salesman from the 80s, right? And I really try to get them to see things the way I do, with a real emphasis on information. Again, I want to shake that stigma right at the start. I'm not here to sell to your employees. What I'm here to do is just help them understand what the benefits are. I mean, when you're talking about something like Aflac, one of the biggest brand names in the world, right up there with Coke and Disney for a while, but a lot of people don't really know what we do. So by really emphasizing, I need them to understand not only what the benefits are, but why you're offering it, and then we're all adults, right? People can make an educated decision, but I want that to be an educated decision. And by really emphasizing that I start there and the rest take care of itself, I feel like that kind of helps me break down some of those barriers and let them know that, I'm not just some solicitor coming in.
I think that's super important because I feel like a lot of people in your industry, they have that bad reputation.
Sure.
They have, or it's not even really the reputation, it's they are salesy, or they do go in and they try to force things, or they don't communicate properly. And we also talked off camera that it's more beneficial for a business owner to pay for the employees' insurance versus giving them a 25-cent raise. Why is this more beneficial?
Yeah, I mean, that's a topic I always kind of have fun getting into, right? I mean, you talk about kind of new sales, old sales. I mean, the game is evolving. There's always going to be certain components of human interaction and communication that are going to be there when it comes to persuading somebody. But with a really, a solution-focused kind of approach, and really getting people, again, to understand where everything fits into the puzzle, when we start getting into that example, it really kind of highlights that win-win type of scenario, And if I can walk out of a conversation, with a friend that also sees it doesn't make sense to say no, I mean, that's a good day, right?
Yes.
But yeah, if you're looking, I mean, especially with the Aflac stuff, or really any in that supplemental voluntary field, whatever words people want to put on it, there's a lot of clients that just put this stuff out there purely voluntary. Employees can take it if they want, payroll deduct the premiums, and that's awesome. I mean, I don't want to knock anything about any client that does that, because you're still putting some of the best stuff out there in front of your employees. And even if it is voluntary, there's a lot of perks to being able to offer it through the workplace. So that's still a huge leap. But yeah, when we start looking into the numbers, and especially with those employers that are like, I need to hire more people. I need to get more people in here. It's the only way I'm going to be able to scale up. I can't keep doing everything myself. Or the ones that finally have a good employee, and they kind of hear whispers that maybe they're out shopping jobs and they don't want to lose them, right? When we start looking at things, naturally as an employer, your first thought is, well, people are going to want a pay raise. And don't get me wrong, people love a good pay raise. I'm not knocking that approach. But when you're looking at the numbers, if you're taking an employee that works 40 hours a week, right? And say you're just trying to start small. So sometimes you'll see this as like an incentive program, here for 90 days, we'll give you a little bump. So just as an example, if you're looking at 25 cents an hour, if you give them that raise on their gross check, you're looking at $10 a week. So after taxes, what are they really benefiting from? How much are they going to feel that? In fact, if you're talking about a tenured employee, they might almost be insulted, but as an example's sake, you're looking at the 25 cents an hour, 40-hour work week, $10 a week. Like we said, on a paycheck, you're not going to feel it, and it definitely won't make a difference if something happens. We can't just expect them to take that extra few bucks on the check and put it into an investment account or whatever. And even if we do, it takes time to build that, right? But you look at something like literally just $10 a week, and what that can do when you're looking at the premiums of something like Aflac's products, where a lot of our stuff starts around $4 a week for an individual. Even family coverage, we can usually get a family coverage on a few of our policies, for under $10, or at least in that ballpark, right? So you go to that employee and you say, hey, there's kind of two conversations. One, we're going to give you a 25 cent per hour raise, just a little bump that we can afford. Or you go to that employee and you say, hey, look, we really value you being here. Whether it's a new employee or, again, a seasoned veteran employee, you want to express that value and make sure that they really understand that you really do mean it. And when you can go to them and say, hey, look, we're going to take one of the biggest, most reputable insurance brands in the game and say, we're going to fund this coverage for you and your family. So if something happens, whether it's like an accident coverage or my personal favorite, our cancer coverage that doesn't really get talked about much. It's just not as much fun in the commercials, right? But you take something like a family cancer plan. If there's a diagnosis of cancer, any kind of like internal or invasive, there's even benefits for skin cancer stuff too, but anything like that, the benefits are astronomical. We're talking a lump sum, couple $1,000s right at diagnosis, money for pretty much every kind of treatment along the way, and a lot of it has no lifetime max. So as long as that person, again, anyone in their immediate family, if we cover everyone, and with Aflac, we're talking whether it's one kid or 20 kids, all the way up to 26. So even, I talk to people all the time that, their kids are off to college, they're doing their own thing, but we're still going to cover them. To be able to put that plan there, and if something happens, knowing that they're going to have all this help coming, and just like that, all that peace of mind, knowing that, not only can I discuss whether I can afford treatment, but now I can maybe afford to look around for the best treatment. And especially when we're talking about kids and, growing up in Clyde, Ohio, I bumped the mic, sorry. Growing up in Clyde, Ohio, around the cancer cluster, right in the thick of it, I've seen firsthand, it's not, cancer doesn't discriminate. We hate to acknowledge it, but I've seen 8, 9, 10-year-olds get diagnosed almost just as often as I've ran into, older people that smoke or whatever. So there's a lot of power there if they need to use it, and to be able to kind of look at the numbers and see how affordable it is for an employer to put that benefit in place. It's pretty powerful.
And where do you think the insurance industry in America is lacking?
Where do I start? One of the big areas that, I've run into, even as a consumer, as an individual, as an independent 1099 working for myself, I hit 26. I fell off of my parents' health insurance, and it's a tough coverage to budget. as an individual, especially if, if you've got a family at home that you're trying to provide for, and that's what makes employers offering these benefits so impactful, and Aflac, I mean, with anything in the supplemental field, it's not built to replace what major medical does. So, I mean, there's still a big need for that, for those people to kind of pay the doctors and hospitals a big chunk of those bills. But it's tough to get, I talk to people all the time that, it's almost like one of their whole paychecks just to cover them for the health insurance in case they need it. And that's unfortunate. I don't know what the right answer is. I don't really get into the politics much, but regardless of how it got there or what to do with it, it's tough when you're talking to people and they're afraid to even discuss medical treatment because it's so expensive, and some people they can't even afford basic health insurance, and the stuff you can't afford usually isn't very good, which is again it's unfortunate.
Yes, and you got into Aflac right after college. What was the lifestyle shift like from going from working for someone else and their business to actually starting your own?
Yeah, actually was still going to college when I started. My first year and a half, couple of years was pretty much an internship through the summer and kind of working my business slow during school. And one of the interesting parts to it, I mean, I was 21, I think, maybe 22 when I started, and I had never really worked a 9 to 5. I had come from the lifestyle of, part-time work in the evenings on the weekends, juggling a commuter lifestyle to and from campus with scattered schedules. So from that perspective, going to a position where my schedule varies day to day, week to week, was a little more natural. But really the hiccup, the speed bump, the school of hard knocks, if you will, is being your own boss. I mean, it's one thing to slack off for an hour between classes, but at least those classes are scheduled. There's somewhere I'm going to be, I got to be there, and I know when I'm there, I'm going to be present. But when you're starting from scratch, which is how most people get started in this field, outside of some network connections, which again, as a 21-year-old living in a new town, I didn't have much of, there's no one there to tell you to put productive things on your schedule. And even something as simple as, hey, I need to get this paperwork done for this or that or whatever, I can put it on my schedule, but there's no one there to say, hey, are you starting that?
Yeah.
Are you working on it? There's no one there to say, hey, don't watch another episode of that show on your lunch break. The Office can wait. It's really kind of developing that discipline, and I don't want to sound like a cliche Instagram influencer, but it's a big part of it. You really gotta develop that mindset, and it's not something that you can just do overnight with a book. I mean, I'm 6 years into this, and I'm still very much a work in progress. So, but yeah, it's developing that ability to understand how to say no to certain things, how to say yes to the right things, and stick to your guns, and really understand that when you take the shortcuts, you're only hurting yourself.
Absolutely. I think that is the most difficult part, because especially coming from the school system where you're told what to do every single day, go to the bathroom, your work being submitted on time, told all by teachers, to going being your own boss, time slips away very quickly. And a couple years into starting your business, you actually hit rock bottom.
Yeah.
Which can, especially dealing with depression, can feel like you're Velcroed to it sometimes.
Yeah.
How did you find hope to want to get out of that place and actually start to improve your life?
Yeah. It sometimes feels weird calling it a rock bottom because, I didn't have it as bad as some people, and I kind of sometimes struggle with that acknowledgement that, my world's different from someone else's. So regardless of where it measures on some, imaginary scale, yeah, I lost a sense of who I was for a long time, and coming through college, academics always kind of came simple, so like a lot of probably stereotypical college kids, I felt like I was ready to get out into the world. And, I mentioned the Instagram thing. I was really into consuming a lot of that content, and there was a lot of good there. I felt energetic, motivated, ready to tackle the world, and I knew going in that there was going to be that grind stage, and I was looking forward to it. I wanted the grind. I wanted to be that guy with the light on at 10 p.m. getting stuff done. But But life catches up to you sometimes. You know, it's easy to imagine things, but that only gets you so far. As important as visualization is, it's only part of the puzzle. And yeah, I got hit in the mouth pretty good. There's certain skills that I felt good about, and walking up and talking to random strangers wasn't one of them. So when I chose this internship, that was a big part of it, as I wanted to, you know, see if I can sharpen this skill, or do I need to just bite the, or accept the fact that this isn't me, you know. And naturally, at the end of a summer, I was somewhere in between, which is why I came back. I felt like there was more out there. And even when I graduated December of 19 and decided to kind of go full time starting in 2020, it was just this sense of like, I'm this close.
Yeah.
You know, I can do this. I know what I'm doing. And, you know, I never thought of, you know, going to sell something else because, again, Aflac's the #1 most ethical insurance company in the world, like 17 plus years in a row. They do a lot of things right, and it's a huge brand. So I never viewed that as the problem. You know, and I always just kind of thought like it's my skill set. Again, going back to reflecting on years of not being productive with a day, let alone a week or a month or a quarter, right? So kind of going through that grind, and it slowly kind of ate away at me, you know, getting so close to a new client, and then something happens and it falls through. And, you know, when you're working like this, there is no paid for your time. You know, you either get it or you don't. So you talking, you know, multiple drives, an hour to and from a prospective client, all the time and the effort going into it, and then all for something to happen and boom, nothing. You know, you do that a few times, it can wear on you. Or, you know, working out with trying to kind of help train new agents, and we're out there in the field, and, you know, you're spending a lot of time doing that, and it's great. I love kind of being that mentor, especially what not to do and things I've learned over the years. But that's time, it's money, it can be exhausting, and, you know, that new recruit, their life comes up and they got to run, and I'm starting over again. And then you realize you would kind of spend so much time helping them grow their business. You weren't growing your own. And COVID didn't help. You know, like I said, I went into that first full-time year, had some good momentum. Everything got shut down. So naturally, I'm sitting at home like a lot of people thinking, is this a sign? You know, is this telling me I should go do something else? And, you know, I milked it. I took advantage of the soul searching for a while, is what that is, you know. And but I get a phone call, and, you know, from our kind of part of our Aflac hierarchy, asking me to kind of step into a more full-on leadership position and running a team. And, you know, I was a big believer in when a good opportunity comes knocking, you say yes, we'll figure out how to do it later. Yeah. I didn't want to say no. And jumped on that, and for a minute it felt good to be at the grown-up table, you know, but I quickly realized I was in over my head for where I was as an individual, as a professional. I had barely learned, hardly, I mean, really, you could say I didn't, how to become just a successful agent, and now I was responsible for others. And I tried to run my team the way I had seen others do it, and again, even though you know it's not right, I'm running my team the way 10-plus year vets with a monthly passive income would run a team, not someone who needs to go out and grind.
Yeah.
And, you know, by the time we got halfway through 2021, I was fried. I was going through the motions, knowing that I was wasting my time, or at least feeling like that, you know, that no matter what I tried to do, how many hours I worked, I wasn't getting there. And again, a lot of that was me. I mean, I learned a ton going through that. When they talk about failing to learn stuff, that was a good year.
Yeah.
But, you know, by the time we got to the end of that year, I was so mentally checked out. I had lost any sense of confidence in the things I thought I knew how to do. And the things I thought I was weak at, I felt like I was embarrassing myself just trying it. And by December, I'd pretty much checked out. I'd given my clients to other people and spent my time pretty much renovating a house. And I mean, I was Googling, how do I become an electrician? I was looking to start from scratch, this close to moving in with my parents and asking my dad for a job at the company he works at, doing pipeline stuff. I mean, I wasn't me anymore. I wasn't the person my girlfriend and, you know, fell in love with back in high school. And, you know, I mean, I could not be here today still doing this if it wasn't for her over those years, you know, supporting me. I mean, she was the breadwinner. She kept the lights on when I was running around in circles, and, you know, she would try to be supportive and pick me up, but you mentioned depression. I mean, I know that's a big topic growing in this world, or mental health in general. I just didn't care. I knew I was falling apart, let myself go, if you will, put weight on and everything. It was just a bad picture. And fortunately, stepping in at 22, I walked away from the leadership stuff, and I really just kind of tiptoed my way back in. Just creeped my toe into the door and was taking care of some clients, helping with some claim stuff. And the leadership team I kind of stepped under was super accommodating, to kind of help bring me back. And as much as that relationship kept me alive, that all took a wear and tear. That relationship went to not a great place, and after a few years, I stepped out of that, along kind of the same time of starting to get my confidence back here. Started networking, getting out and really developing a support system I never really felt like I had. I mean, someone told me when I was a rookie here that you're in business for yourself, but not by yourself. And I always really loved that message, but the first several years, the culture here wasn't that. It really did kind of feel like when we were in here, we were going through the motions. And I kind of felt internally and out in the field like I was on an island. And didn't know how to ask for help was a big part of it. But things started to kind of get put back together here. Some of the leadership we have in place here is not only the best I've seen in 6 years, but we've had, some other veteran agents, 10, 20-year vets that are reintegrating kind of into the fold because of what's going on. And that's really exciting to see. And it's just these last couple of years have been a nice little perfect storm, getting better culture here, better support here, the networking and being around other successful entrepreneurs that want to see you push and see you win. And when I joined this networking group I'm in now 2 years ago, I got very, very fortunate, struck up a great relationship right away, was able to get a referral and close business. And as much as the paycheck was huge, within our group, he kind of vouched for me and gave a testimonial to the group, and just speaking on how good I did and how much all of his team loved working with me. And I almost cried in front of that room of people because it had been so long since someone else vouched for my work, and it felt really good, and I've chased that high ever since. And like I said, still very much a work in progress, but I held on to that hope that I'm this close. And even though I felt like I was out, I was afraid to give it up. I didn't want to turn 50 and look back and think you were that close and you threw it away. And I got some more of the right people around me, and I finally feel like I'm having a good time building something again. And it's, another quote I've heard, smart enough to stay or too dumb to leave, one of the two, but here we are.
No, I love how you didn't give up, and you looked at things and you said, how do I improve? How do I get better? I think surrounding yourself with people is very important. It's very crucial. If you're surrounded with people that drink and smoke, you're going to probably be doing that. Right. So it's very exciting. And you posted a quote on Facebook back in 2011.
Oh, I love it.
By yourself. It says, "You stand in the world as one, yet your spirit as many. The decision is up to you, for your fate is undetermined." Can you unpack what that means to you?
Great pull. I've always been a big fan of quotes, but you went back to 11. That's a good, before I knew how to appreciate a good quote. But yeah, if anything, that shows that even back then I knew there was a chance for greatness somewhere. But yeah, I still tend to try to believe in the American dream, at least a portion of it. The economy is what it is. At the end of the day, my day-to-day is my day-to-day. But, regardless of whether you can afford a home or whether college is the right choice, all that mess, at the end of the day, we are given an opportunity where we can really kind of decide who we're going to be. And I understand having resources available to you makes certain decisions much easier. I didn't grow up swimming in a pool of gold coins either, but you can decide who you are on the inside. And knowing that the future is always kind of wide open, and that at any point you can decide to start today. I think there's so much power in that ability to hit reset. that's a big part of what happened here. I mean, I was done, and I just kind of said, I put both feet back in, and I kind of got started again, and I really tried to start over like a rookie and just be grateful that I had the experience from along the way. But I mean, whether it's a big life change and trying to kind of become a different person, or even like right now in my day to day, you know, I'm very content with kind of the profession that I'm in the business that I'm growing, excuse me, and the niche that I'm trying to live in and everything. But even now, like I have a not so productive day. I have a bad day. I have a day where things don't go the way they're supposed to, where I didn't make that phone call. I didn't follow up with that person. I didn't walk in and introduce myself. You know, we're all human beings. And knowing that, you know, even if today isn't great, or I got the negative voices running, whatever, they might win today, but, you know, tomorrow's unwritten, you know, and knowing that somewhere swirling in here or out there in the multiverse, whatever, right, there's the version of me that I strive to become. There's the version of me that I picture at the top of the mountain. And as long as I have that vision clear, you know, I'm never gonna let myself lose sight of the fact that I can be that. Yeah. It might not happen today. You know, I might be Colonel Sanders at 60 something when the light bulb finally goes off, or goes on. You know what I mean? But you can always kind of just get back on track. You know, no matter how off track you might get, you can always get back on track. And I mean, yeah, that's a great quote from 11. It was ahead of my time, but you dig through, you'll see some eras where quotes were my everyday. You know, shout out to my VU roommates and my dorm room doors. So my little taste of fame on campus there. But yeah, you know, I mean, quotes have so much power. You know, when they say a picture, you know, is more than or worth 1,000 words, but you take one strong sentence and the way that it can change the wiring in your brain. I mean, I think that's pretty impactful.
Yeah.
You know, so.
I have 2 more questions for you. If today was your last day alive, what would you say to your parents?
Oh, that's a good question. Man, I think what I would tell them, I mean, in no particular order, thank you for what they were able to do. You know, I mean, they got married right out of high school. High school sweethearts got married, had me at 20, you know, and yeah, we were broke growing up. And one of the things that I think is so cool about what my parents did, and my brother and I have talked about this, he's 3 years younger than me. We were super broke, but we didn't know it. You know, like they really shielded us from that pain. They carried so much burden raising us. And, you know, if there was ever something we really wanted to do, they found a way to make it work, whether it was a second job or night shifts or whatever. We never felt that. And, I mean, none of us are perfect. Nobody is. But the fact that my younger brother and now my sister, who's 10 years younger than me, and she just graduated high school, you know, not to toot our own horn, but we were good kids. You know, we never really seemed like we got off on the wrong path. I mean, yeah, I got lost from time to time. That's life. But, you know, it seems like for the most part, we were all raised with our head on straight. And I mean, that's where does that come from? That comes from your people around you. And, you know, parents that would do anything for you. I mean, right out of I mean, you couldn't ask for anything more. And I know, especially my mom always takes it hard on herself because things weren't great growing up. But man, if I could just get them to finally believe in that moment, like, thank you. You know, you guys, you did a great job. You know, I would love to be half as good a parent to my kids in the future as they were to me. And you know, once I got them to hopefully believe that, we'll go out golfing or fishing to round out the day. But yeah, I mean, nobody's perfect, but man, they were close.
I have one more question. If you could have dinner with 2 people, one person from the past and one person from the present, who would it be and why?
Man, you know what's crazy is I've actually kind of tried to ask myself that before, and I still don't have a great answer. I mean, present day, right? There's a few people that come to mind, but I think if I had to pick one, maybe it would be between Alex Ramosi and Gary V, maybe. They bring a little bit different takes to the table, but the same kind of message, you know. I think I could benefit a lot them. And looking at the past, man, never been a huge history buff, so Chris Farley.
Why?
Oh, man. You know what? I want to rewrite the first part of the answer. You know what? I could sit here and talk about business and entrepreneur mentors. Never mind. We're having dinner with two people. It's going to be Chris Farley. It's going to be Jack Black. Those
Okay.
are my two. Put it on stone. Chris Farley, I mean, obviously, we've learned over the years the guy had his issues and was damaged on the inside. But, I mean, talk about just a comedic icon gone too soon. That's a guy I'd love to just hang out with. And it's just inspiring. I mean, to be able to, that's what's so cool about comedy. I'm a big fan of you know, that landscape and just being able to put away everything else and just have a good time. He's a guy that I would love to. And like probably most people my age, I grew up on a lot of his stuff. You know, all the Adam Sandler, Happy Madison movies, you know, the early ones with him, Tommy Boy, of course, you know, all of those. But then even, you know, present day with Jack Black, I mean, that my buddies will know he's a hero of mine pretty much, going back to high school and, you know, growing up watching School of Rock and all of his other movies, even the dumb roles, even the movies that aren't very good, or even some of the movies I probably shouldn't have watched as young as I did. Just a guy that is so comfortable in his own skin. He is 100% confident in who he is. He's there to have a good time. And I think that's the kind of mentality everybody needs around them because, you know, as much as I love being around the right mentors, you don't want to lose sight of who you are. We got one life on this world, and if you spend every waking minute trying to be a robot, eventually you'll win. But, man, if you can learn how to just take who you are and how you know how to have a good time and how to help other people have a good time, if you can bottle that and find a way to use it in what you do, I believe you'll see the stars. I mean, you'll go way further than the guy that is just sitting there under a lamp at 10 p.m. trying to grind. You know, really find a way to be sustainable and be yourself. And you know, that's going back to the networking thing. That's a big part of it. I found a support system that helped me be me, helped me continue to refine who I am, and I love working with people now. And it doesn't help that I've gotten a little bit of swagger to believe that I can do it, but I think that all plays into that.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, you put Chris Farley and Jack Black with me at a table, we'll be there until the lights go off.
I love how you talked about how Jack Black is comfortable in his own skin, and you know, grinding is important, but I always like to say consistency over intensity. You want to be able to do things for 70 years, not 3, because
Yes.
if you die out at 3, everyone that's staying consistent is going to beat you. And even for yourself, right? You don't want to, you love something year 1, 2, and 3, and then you give up.
Yeah.
But that's all the questions I have. How can people find you, and what is one thing you want to leave people with?
Well, as far as finding me goes, my website's still, you know, under construction, but on Facebook, I mean, just Isaac Milleson, but Isaac Milleson Benefits Advisor is kind of my business page. That's where I try to keep the content out there, try to get noticed, try to send people that way. I've got my Google page, but if you click website, it just takes you to Aflac.com, which is full of great information. But if you're trying to get a hold of me, don't type in the little get more info because they'll send you somewhere. But that's where you find me right now. Again, working on putting a website together to let people kind of know really what all I do beyond just the Aflac stuff. But again, as an independent, everything I can bring to the table. But other than that, I mean, my BNI meets every Thursday morning. You know, come hang out, come get to know me. Let's grab some coffee, and I can introduce you to some other awesome people along the way. So, yeah, closing thought, man. It sounds kind of cheesy, but going back to that clarity of who you're trying to be, who you can be, who you can be, who you're gonna be. See that person and try your best to make sure every decision along the way is, what would that person do? What would the best me do? And if you can kind of keep that in front of you, I used to picture the stick with the carrot or whatever. Keep that in front of you. Keep trying to make your decisions towards it. You're never going to be perfect, but if every day you can make a couple more decisions that the future you would be proud of, you'll be there before you know it. So I think that's what I would leave the people.
I love that. Well, Isaac, thank you so much for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Absolutely.